Hey, this is Matt from Generic Film Studios, here to bring you the second generic review, which I kind of figured that since I started off with Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, and the Jak trilogy is really some of the first games that I really followed. Like, I got the first one, and then I couldn't wait for the second one to come out. I got the second one, beat it however many times, couldn't wait for the third one to come out, got it, beat it how many times. I figured I would just keep going, and so uh, I today's review, as you may have guessed, is Jak II, also for the PS2. Um, Now, as far as the graphics go for Jak II, I won't touch on them as much as I did in the first one because they are very similar to the first game, but they're it's like if you took the extreme stylization that the first game had and you present it in a way that makes it better. Like, it makes it more. I mean, it's the same amount of stylization, but everything seems just a little bit more like it's in the same world. Nothing seems flat looking. Um, Characters are. The character models for this game are extremely creative and extremely well done. And there's a black guy. There's a black guy in the Jak universe. Holy crap. There's only one, though, so it's kind of like the Star Wars films, where you can only have one black guy in the galaxy at a time. But, anyways, so, yeah, graphics are pretty good. Stylized, just like the first one, but, just that much better. The main graphical difference for this game goes in with the environment, which I'll get into in presentation as well. But the environment, because you're in a city this time rather than just out wherever the first one took place, since you're in like a heavily populated city, there's a lot more lights, there's a lot more moving things, there's a lot more environment things going on in the background, which they actually managed to do really, really well. I mean, um, they actually managed to do it extremely well. They presented it well. They made it so that, okay, yeah, if you see a person walking. Now, I will say that you'll see the same person walking around on opposite sides of the city multiple times. No, what's really funny is when you see the same, because they only use probably 5 or 6 different models for civilians that are just walking around. But no, what's really funny is when you see two. In fact, I think there was one time where I saw 3 of the same character model walking down a street, like right next to each other, and I got kind of a kick out of that. But um, and yeah, so graphics are good. Um, Presentation. The presentation is different in this game, of course, because like I said, it's in the city. Unlike the first one, it is in a city, and so the presentation needs to deliver more because there's more to see. And the presentation does deliver. It delivers very well. Everything's seamless, just like in the first game. There's very few load times, except for the whole thing that I said about in the first game about not having to like go and then just stop for a cutscene and then keep going. There's a little more of that in the second game, which, I mean, it's by no means a deal breaker, but it's just not quite as seamless. But at the same time, the story matters a lot more in this game. So you need those cutscenes. But yeah, presentation is good. It definitely lives up to the reputation that Naughty Dog built with the first Jak game, even though it goes in an entirely different direction. Gameplay. Okay, gameplay, again, is fundamentally. There's only two huge fundamental differences for gameplay in Jak 2. One is the introduction of guns, which I was not sure if they would make that work, but at least in my opinion, they actually do make it work. You get 4 guns throughout the game. You get the scatter gun, which is a shorter range, wide field of fire. It's kind of like a shotgun, if Yeah, it's kind of like a short-range shotgun, but it fires energy because, you know, they can't have bullets in a rated. It actually is rated T, but you know, for some reason it still is like it's got to be like borderline E10 plus because I mean it's really not that bad. There was some cursing in it, but you know, whatever. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like a wide field of fire, short-range weapon. Um, then there's the blaster, which is pretty basic. It's just a long gun. It's a long-range weapon with a laser dot sight, which is useful. The laser dot sight actually works. A lot of times you can't get things like that to work in the third person, but it actually works. Um, it works really well. It's a basic single shot thing. Then there's the Vulcan Fury, which is an automatic weapon. It's kind of like a chain gun where like it'll start firing slower and then it'll just keep speeding up. And all you have to do is hold R1. Um, and it has a laser sight too. And I think they put something in the game where like if you've got your laser dot sight set on something, it tends to stick to your target even if you move around a little bit, which is actually really good. It's not entirely realistic, but it definitely helps with the gameplay, which is very nice of them. The other thing is walking around, like zooming or whatever. Zoomers nowadays, there was only one zoomer in the first game. Now this is the future, so there's zoomers flying every. Zoomers are like cars in our world, where you'll see them everywhere, and they're all hovercrafts. They look nothing like the original zoomer. Um, and so you can steal one from it. It's almost like GTA in a sense where you up to someone, you can steal their car in that game, or you can steal someone's hovercraft in this one. Even if their hovercraft is floating in the hover zone above you, it's kind of cool, like, to see him jump up and knock the guy out and just take it. There's smaller crafts, which are faster, but can take less punishment. And there are, uh, bigger ones, which are slower, but can take more punishment, which is, you know, whichever one you're using is more useful against whatever amount of crimson guard you're fighting. Um, and so, oh, and you can switch hover zones. You can go low or high. Low is mainly used to avoid things that are above you, and high is used for, well, you know, the other one, avoiding things that are below you. Now, story. This is the main difference between Jak II and Jak I. Jak II's story is much more complicated. I'm still kind of trying to. I mean, I think I've got it. It's a time travel story, or it turns into one, and you know, so of course, time travel stories, you know, they're kind of confusing. But yeah, there's a lot more of the story. The basic setup is that, you find if you got 100 power cells in the first one, you find this gate. And the gate is actually a time portal, sends you forward in time. Jak gets imprisoned for 2 years until Daxter breaks him out. And Jak talks in this one, which is actually a good addition. And then you have to side with the Underground to beat Baron Praxis, who is the evil ruler of Haven City. And you also have to worry about the Metalheads, which are these creatures that exist outside of Haven City's borders. And there's this huge conspiracy and this huge time travel plot line that comes into bear. It's a really, really satisfying story. So yeah, it is really, really good. Top-notch story. Overall, I'm not going to do lasting appeal for this one because, I mean, it's fairly new. Well, it's 03, but, you know, this is near the end of the PS2, and it's pretty much the same lasting appeal as the first one. It's an if you're board game. I'm gonna give this one, just like the first one, a 9 out of 10, the story is a lot better than the first one, but there's something about the charm of the first one where it's just the simplicity of it that Jak II is more complicated, which can be seen both as an upside and downside. So, yeah, 9 out of 10. If you haven't bought it, buy it, but play the first one first. This has been Matt from Generic Film Studios, signing out.